No, it's a lot of new, just like when we did the first Wasteland 2, it's like we had to over deliver and surprise people with a much bigger game than they ever thought they'd get. I guess same thing when we go to console. We think, what can we do to just like knock it out of the ballpark? So number one, completely change the UI, obviously, but like a real we treated it as if this was a made for console first. We just ignored the PC UI and completely redid it, heavily focusing, looking at things like XCOM and Diablo and people who have done it well, who've taken a deep tactical game of this nature and brought it over to consoles successfully and had people love it. So I think people who like especially like XCOM, you got all the tactical greatness and 100 hours of stuff to do behind it. Then on top of that, we moved it over to Unity 5, so we did a whole graphic overhaul. So we had a whole new different lighting models, all new textures. We've added a tremendous amount of audio. I think like 40,000 lines of extra dialogue, or spoken dialogue, not extra dialogue. There's NPCs that join your party that have hilarious personalities, and they were mostly not voiced before, and so now they're voiced, and that adds a whole other layer to it. Then we had like this bucket list of things that we always wanted to do on Wasteland, but we didn't get to. Well, this time we're getting to it. The other thing is that like Fallout had a traits system, perks and traits. Well, we have our perks and quirks system that we're doing, and so now there's a whole 20 plus all different perks and quirks that the player gets to choose from. And then on top of that, we put an aimed shot system in. That was one of the big requests we had. People like the original Fallout, they like to build with the aimed shots. We have aimed shot system. So that was pretty much everything we've always wanted is now in this version.
Okay, so
I should say in this version and on PlayStation 4 too. It's on both formats. You should probably ask my psychologist, huh? Well, I've always been, as a kid, loved this stuff. With me it was the Omega Man with Charlton Heston, Planet of the Apes, Soylent Green, the Road Warrior, of course. Like, I've always loved the subject matter. I guess part of it is because it feels like a universe that could happen, right? It takes our current reality and just pushes it a little bit. And you imagine that, what if, all of a sudden all the electricity went out, right? All of a sudden all the prisons start opening up and everybody starts coming out. Or a nuclear bomb kind of shakes things up and kind of basically, I could see us getting thrown into the Dark Ages because of something we do to screw it up, and now all of a sudden the mighty are the ones who are in charge, yet there's a mixture of the Middle Ages with technology together. So I think those two things together, it provides it to be, I think, a fascinating setting, and we all think we'll survive. We think if it goes down, whether it's zombies or a nuclear bomb, that we think we'll be the survivors, and we think about what we would do to survive. So I think it immediately gets our brain thinking about a lot of different scenarios. So I guess that's, I think, part of the reasons why I think there's some appeal to it. I guess we could. I think that we're always wrestling with, we have only so many hours in the day, and I can guarantee you that I am action jam-packed 8 or 9 hours a day, every single day. So if I had to do a documentary simultaneously on top of it, it would just take hours away from doing something else. So I'm not saying it's a bad idea, it's just why we probably haven't done as much there. But I do like the educational component to this whole thing, I think, because one of the things that people haven't really realized that it's not a straight line from beginning to end of what we're going to get. And in fact, little surprise, we don't know exactly what we're going to be building at the very beginning, because anybody who lays things down saying this is exactly how it's going to be, and that's exactly what they build, they're not going to get a good game. You find your way throughout the process. And whether you read books about Pixar, talking about films, they'll tell you, like Pixar, the guy who runs Pixar, or the president, he says, in the beginning, all of our movies suck. That's Pixar, right? And Blizzard will tell you, that, hey, our path to Hearthstone is not, we didn't know, it wasn't obvious even to us when we started. And these are people with more money and more brains than anybody, yet they know they got to find their way. And so we have to do the same thing. But that's a bit of an educational process, because I think in the beginning, or even still, people think that we've got it all worked, every little thing worked out, but it isn't. You have tenets and philosophies that you want to come across, and but you need to leave yourself latitude to sort of, you want to accomplish those goals, but there might be 9 different ways to accomplish the same thing, and we'll experiment with those things. Some of them we try, we won't work. Some of them we might try some little thing. Hey, we really like that, and then we'll expand upon it. And so I think that iterative process, education, has been super important for us to communicate. Well, obviously, our experience with Kickstarter has been great because we've had 3 successes. So I like it because, well, I look at Kickstarter as just one way you can get into our games, right? You can get into it with Kickstarter, which gives you best pricing, most information, physical goods you can't get otherwise, get your name in the game, get your face in the game, get your wife in the game, get your dog in the game, or whatever you want to do. You know, you come to the party, there's all sorts of things that you can only get there. And then, of course, there's early access, which is people that they're impatient and they want it now and they want to be part of the process. And then you can buy it when it becomes available, then you can buy it when it comes out on sale, and then you can get it in a humble bundle maybe later. Where you get in doesn't matter, but the Kickstarter part is good for us because we don't do, well, we're not doing free-to-play games. These games are not typical mass market stuff, so we need the money from all the sources for us to continue doing what we're doing. And also on top of it, we don't have marketing budgets, so when we roll it out, our fans that backed us are our sales team, and they'll only support you if you do good by them. But if you do good by them, they will go out and they will, you know, sing it to the rooftops that you've delivered, and they're all happy, and that's invaluable for us. So, well, you know, it's a different dynamic with how we're working with, say, Deep Silver, for example, because, so, the contrast has to do with if I'm doing work for a publisher for which they're financing the game, I've got to do it their way. It's their money, their way, and they're going to dictate that. And that, their way, is quite often different than my way of making a game. Yet I got to do a contract, and I got to hit the milestones, and I got to do trade show demos, and I've got to maybe make compromises that I personally wouldn't make, but they're paying me, so I have no choice. With this particular thing, we've already financed the game. So when I come to Deep Silver and say, hey, we're already making the game, and we want to put it on the retail shelf or bring it over to console, there's no editorial about how we do it. They know that we're financing it, and they trust us, so I'm just delivering a good. So there's no artistic back and forth, if you know what I mean. So that's the difference between this kind of why I'm here and that, and sort of what the typical publishing arrangement would be. I've heard that theory before, and in reality, it doesn't really work that way. And I sort of laugh. I think I don't hear people say, don't go see Iron Man 3, I'm not going to get a documentary, right? One has nothing to do with the other. The fact that there's going to be mega triple A blockbusters is not going to prevent more indie films or documentaries coming out. It doesn't really work that way. And in fact, you know, last year on Kickstarter, the overall dollars were down. Remember, people, Kickstarter's dead, last year Kickstarter's dead. But the number of projects was way up. Well, if the overall dollars are down and the overall projects are up, that means it was all the smaller people that were getting the benefit of it. And so there's that aspect. And then there's this halo effect, which is whenever, like when Tim Schafer came into the business, he brought, there was like a 40% more people into the business to Kickstarter. Like with Shenmue, they're bringing in more backers, and it's been proved over and over again that those backers are highly likely to back something else once they're in. So it keeps growing the pool. You know, it's no different than when you have a block full of restaurants versus one that sits all by itself. When you have everyone together, it's bringing more money in. So no matter how you cut or slice that argument, the smaller guy is not. It's not being the dollar. It's not the pie is getting bigger. It's not just being sliced up more. Well, it's beautiful. I mean, I love what they're doing with it. We're going to have something, you know, soon. I mean, we're trying to get something into test in the next month, and then we got to go through tests for a while. Once that's ready, then we're going to start getting into some backers' hands so we can start getting some feedback from it. But I think that anybody, like Planescape Torment, it was such a different kind of role-playing game. Like you can't, like Wasteland to Baldur's Gate or Pillars to Torment, even Bard's Cell, they're all so different. They're all role-playing games, but they're all so different. And Torment it's so much about the writing and using your words as weapons and interesting characters and doing this, going to this bizarre, otherworldly place, nailing it. For all the things that about Planescape Torment, this Torment game is nailing all the same check boxes. So I can't wait to get it in front of people. No. We just did Bard's Cell. Now it'll be a while before I crowdfund another game. Most of the companies on Torment, and very small team on Bard's Cell, very small team on Wasteland console. Wasteland console is wrapping up. We're trying to submit that to first-party manufacturers next month. So those resources will start coming to Bard's Cell. Torment resources next 60, 90 days, slowly they're going to start peeling off and coming to Bard's Cell. And so basically Bard's Cell will come up as Torment goes down, and then they'll be on that for a while.